And we got the taxi cab and went to the airport, and 20 years in Florida. And I would have never left Florida had she not got sick.
Right.
But she got sick, and I came back to Jersey because the kids were back here and they could help me with it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And the worst thing in the world is to sit and see someone deteriorate daily and you can't help them, you know. But that dementia and Alzheimer's is a tough stop. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What part of Philadelphia did you live in?
We lived in a place called Erdnine that was out from Chestnut Hill.
Oh, Chestnut Hill.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
Beautiful area.
that's a nice area.
Yeah. But, and we used to go to Florida for the long weekends because we had a condo in Tampa. And from going there so often, we began to like it. So we said when we retired we was going to move to Florida.
Now, was that section of Philadelphia that you lived in, was that integrated at that time, or was that still a black section?
Yeah, well, I guess it was, you could say it was integrated because my wife and I was the first ones out there. We integrated.
Okay.
But we had no problem.
Okay.
They in Erdnine, they treated us fine.
I know in Overbrook there were some difficulties. I mean, in the 50s.
In the 50s.
Yeah, really not good.
Yeah, there was difficulties in the Northeast and in some parts of South Philadelphia that was basically an Italian name, and they didn't take too kindly.
No.
Yeah.
Speaking of Italian, Mayor Rizzo, did your paths ever cross with Frank Rizzo?
It might be strange to hear me say this, but Frank Rizzo was a friend of mine.
Okay.
Because when we were negotiating contracts in Philadelphia,
Wow.
he'd have me come down to his office and he and I would sit, and he told me, I got this amount for you. And we can shake hands, we can be friends, I'll keep my word, and if you don't keep your word, I'll murder you. But, you know, I had to be careful saying that Frank was a friend of mine around blacks because
Oh, yeah.
they didn't like him,
Oh,
you know. But he and I were,
Tough, but good for his word.
Baseball. Did you follow the Phillies or the Athletics?
Since 1938.
Is that right?
Yeah, I followed the Phillies and the A's when Connie Mack was there, and that's where it's sad to say because I spent 50 years in Philadelphia, but that's where Jackie Robinson had his biggest problem. You know, I remember he came to bat, and a guy named Ben Chapman, who was the manager, sent black cats out on the field, and but Jackie, when you think about it, he might have been the greatest ball player ever to be able to play under those circumstances. It was tough, you know. But Jackie was, I think it shortened his life though, you know, that pressure. But baseball, I watched baseball since 1938. I love baseball.
When Robinson came up and that whole incident you talked about, within the
47,
47, when in the community was there? How did the community react to having?
They all loved the Brooklyn Dodgers because that's where Jackie was, you know. Yeah, you'd see Brooklyn Dodgers come to town. That's the only time you would see a lot of blacks attending the game because blacks didn't go to the game much in Philadelphia because, you know, there were no black ball players on the team and there was no incentive to, you know. But I always followed baseball. I got a ball home that I caught once in the stands in 1938. I still got the ball home. It turned brown. Yeah.
Shibe Park?
Shibe Park, 21st of Lehigh Avenue. Yeah.
And did both the Phillies and the A's play at Shibe Park?
Yeah. No, the A's played at Shire Park, and the Phillies played at a stadium, Old Baker Bowl.
Baker Bowl.
Yeah, yeah.
Was Al Simmons part of that world?
Al Simmons was with the A's, yeah.
Mhm.
Al Simmons, Jimmy Fox, yeah. Lefty Grove,
Lefty Grove.
yeah.
Connie Mack, he was always dressed.
Always dressed in the high collar, yeah. Yeah.
And you probably died 1,000 deaths in 1950 when your Philadelphia Phillies and the Whiz Kids, they did so well. And
With Jim Constantine.
and did, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if Marion does the right thing, she'll drive you around Chautauqua County and she'll take you through a city called Westfield, New York. And Jim Constantine, when he wasn't playing baseball for the Phillies and becoming the Cy Young Award winner, was the athletic director at the high school here in Westfield.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So a little, and then he had a sports store and big glasses and he had some big stuff.
I love baseball. I had a lot of Yankee paraphernalia, the jackets and things I wore. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Just when I was getting to like you. Just when I was feeling good about this.
You don't mean to tell me you're Boston Red Sox, so
No, anything but the Yankees.
I don't understand.
They won too many. They won too much.
You can't argue with success.
I cannot argue with success, but
It's gonna turn nasty.
yeah. Okay, I still like it. So give me your best story about Marion. There's got to be something that just resonates. Say, as I close my eyes, let me think about a Marion.
First of all, she was spoiled.
Spoiled.
She was the last one to leave home. And I'd be, my wife and I'd be going out to dinner, and I'd look around, and she's always in the back. She got in the car before we got in, And my wife and I always liked the best restaurants. She's been to all the best restaurants in Philadelphia. And she still peeved with me because when her sister graduated from New York University, I told her I was going to take her to Four Seasons to dinner, and I did. So now she's still peeved because I never took her to the Four Seasons. Every time I talk to her, she says, "You haven't taken me to the Four Seasons." And she figures now that I'm 94, I might not have one, and she might not never get there. But I will say, I'm not, everybody says I'm prejudiced, and she's my favorite, but it isn't that way. But I do think she was the brightest one of the three. She catch on very fast, She's a smart kid.
Yeah, we've noticed that, but I don't want to get her a big head.
Well, it can't be any bigger than it is. But I'm so proud of her.
I'm sure during your 94 years, and certainly given your position in the union, probably met a few interesting people along the way. Is there an individual or two that you'd say, Greg, let me tell you about this person?
Well, I met Ethel Randolph, and I met Bayard Ruskin, and Michael Quill was my first boss in New York, and I met the president of the AFL, and I met some interesting people, but I think the person that I admire the most in the union is Ethel Randolph.
Yeah.
And the politician that I admire the most in my life was a congressman from New York, Adam Clayton Powell. He was my favorite politician. And that was always my desire. I always pictured myself a lawyer and in Washington and as a politician, but I don't think I would have liked it too well down there now the way it is. You know, it's too much. It's not what you can do for the people, it's what you can do for yourself. You know, it's the atmosphere down there wouldn't be, I wouldn't like it. Yeah.
Well, you just dropped some interesting names. A. Philip Randolph, he was from the Union. I mean, it was it the Coachman's? What was it?
He was president of the sleeping car porters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was, describe him?
He was, the only thing I can say about he was a great civil rights leader. This is why I admire Adam Clayton Powell. You know, when Adam Clayton Powell was in Washington, he used to tell the blacks, you come down here and use the soda fountain and the barber shop. We're going to integrate these places, and that, you know, yeah.
Well, Adam Clayton Powell Jr.
Yeah.
Did you ever go listen to him preach?
Oh, yes. And I right now, you know, sometimes I go to the computer because I love orators, and I get those and I just sit there and listen to the different ones. Adam Clayton Powell, and one of my favorites, the lady in Texas. What's her name?
Barbara Jordan.
Barbara Jordan.
Barbara Jordan.
I thought she was one of the finest orators I ever heard. Yeah. I love the orators. You know?
Yeah.
Yes. I love to listen to them.
Did you leave Philadelphia and go up to New York? Did you spend a lot of time in New York City?
Yeah. I used to go to New York every morning on the Amtrak. And the office was 1980 Broadway. And then I traveled a lot. I had locals in Michigan and Ohio and Miami and Texas, and I got a lot of air miles. Yeah.
Were you caught up in the civil rights movement?
Yes, I was supposed to go to one of the civil rights marches, but then negotiations came up and I wasn't able to go. I forget which one it was, you know. At my age, my memory's not as good as it used to be.
Pretty good.
Yeah. But I followed it, you know. That might be one of my regrets that I didn't didn't have as much to do with the marches. You know, I wasn't involved as much in the civil rights movement as I think I could have been.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Well, how did you connect with Bayard Rustin?
He was Union.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. He was. They ended up. He was a gay guy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I never will forget. I was sitting in a bar. I forget where. It was at a union meeting, and he walked up to me and said, "I'm Bayard Rustin," and I shook his hand, and he says, "I'll have a gin and tonic with a twist of lemon." I think this guy real wants me to buy him a drink already. But, yeah.
They just had a thing on NPR about Bayard and his male companion.
Yeah.
And the companion was talking about that. It was very interesting and how difficult time it was for Bayard.
Yeah. Especially after they found out that he was.
Correct.
Yeah.
He's been such an organizer. I know that there are some folks even at Chautauqua Institution who were followers of his in the 60s and very much a teacher of that. So when Marion describes you, and she tried to do that earlier today, and introduces you, what would you like her really to say about you?
I was a good dad.
Okay.
Yeah. If they can say that about me when I'm gone, that's the best tribute they can give me. And I'm proud to say that I never had a confrontation with them. We seldom ever disagreed. Martin and Enid and Merrill. They're the love of my life. Yeah.
We're thrilled to have you come here.
Yeah. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, so it's your first trip up around this area?
It's first trip, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Philadelphia during World War II was a hub of industrial activity as far as the war industries are concerned, as far as the Navy shipyard there and so on.
Yeah.
What's your fondest memory, most keen memory of World War II in Philadelphia? How's Philadelphia changed now? How does it compare?
Oh, it's changed because what is it? The last couple of mayors we had in Philadelphia, black. But you know, the big cities. It seems to me that once a city elects a black mayor, the funds seem to dry up. Yeah, it seems as if the city goes downhill, looks like me. I don't know what the problem is, but of course the last black mayor I had in Philadelphia, Nutter, he seemed to have done a pretty good job. Yeah.
Would you still call Philadelphia a southern city as it was in the 40s?
It's not as bad as it used to be, but it's not as good as it should be. It hasn't. You know, Philadelphia's, well, America hasn't changed as much as I hope I would see it change before I die. I'm not at all satisfied with the progress that we made in this country. And I just think that since Obama got elected, it seems to me that it's worse than it was. You know, we were hoping when Obama got elected that things would change more than they have. I just think that there's as much or more resentment since he got elected. And I don't know whether it's because he was the first black president, but it just seems that, and you know, regardless of your party affiliation, he's had a tough time. I just think he would have done a better job had the Congress and the Senate been more cooperative with it. It seems like everything he tries to do is, maybe I shouldn't have gotten into this because I don't know your party affiliation. I'm not satisfied. Yeah. America is not what I hoped I would see before I died. Yeah. I'm not at all, you know, when and then there's a lot being done today. It's not being done from the heart. It's being done political gains, like take the flag down in South Carolina. You don't think a lot of those people will take it down because we have to, but not because we want it. Right. And it's not what America's not what I hoped it would be before it's been some progress, but not the progress that I think is. And I don't understand it. I don't understand. I have never understood the resentment a group of people that I think has done nothing but help to build America, but we're still downtrodden. I'm not at all satisfied.
Are you the kind of guy that was booing Santa Claus in Philadelphia Stadium?
No.
You ever seen those movies?
No.
Only Philadelphia. Only Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. Where they rolled out Santa Claus at a football game, and they booed him. You know, they're a tough crowd.
That's something else, you know.
Do you remember that, Mary?
Yes, I do.
You know, Philadelphia was one of the last teams in baseball to was black.
Yeah.
And as well as I like the Yankees were one of the last teams to get a black ball player. If you remember, Elston House was the first one. Yeah. Do you know? It was only a few months ago that I realized that there were 3 teams in baseball today. I don't know whether it's still that didn't have a black ball player. Arizona, St. Louis, and the San Francisco Giants. I don't know whether they got one now, but those 3 teams at the beginning of this season, the only thing they had was white and Latino ball players. And if you notice, the blacks in baseball, there's not as many as there used to be. And the problem is, the owners don't concentrate on the minority ball players in this country like they do in the Dominican. You know, these owners go down in the Dominican and build baseball
Teams,
fields and things.
That's a real issue in baseball right now.
That's a real issue. That's a real issue.
Especially when you think about the Giants. There was a time in the 60s when the whole team, seemingly with the Alous and Cepedas and Willie Mays and McCoveys and all of that, it was.
Yes, but it's sad. You know?
Yeah. Speaking of sad, while we're on the subject, 1964, when your Phillies were so far ahead, and they just didn't deliver the goods. They choked big time. That was the Gene Mauch time period. I have a lot of friends in Philadelphia who just simply died 1,000 deaths in 1964. Were you part of that? Did you go through? You remember that?
Well, I was never a Philly rooter, even though I lived there. So no, it didn't bother me.
Didn't bother you, huh?
No, it didn't bother me.
So.
Well, I tell you, I've been a Yankee rooter since 1938.
All right.
With the DiMaggios and Lou Jarrett and those guys, they were my ball players. Yeah? And today I'm still a Yankee rooter. I hate to sell you, but
I like you. I still like you. I've gotten over this. This is terrific. I am so thrilled that you came in.
I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, and I hope Marion will give you, if you haven't completed the tour, get a tour of this place so you get a sense of Justice Jackson, who was, well, we're very proud of having him as part of our world here in Western New York, but it's also got a real national and international flavor to Justice Jackson.
I'm proud that Marion's a part of your staff, and she thinks the world of you. And
She's not a very perceptive person.
We should end the interview.
Give her time to know the real bit.
Yeah,
it's great that you don't know what it does to me to see a picture out there on the wall.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of her.
Is it the new picture, Marion? Or
No, this is still the red background where it's kind of.
She likes attention. So if you noticed, all those pictures are all blue background, but yours is bright red. It's like
right.
The neon light look. Hi, I'm Marion Becker.